Hello friends, my name is Elise and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here, and this is my mystical bookshelf. And you will notice I am in a different setting. Yeah, so I moved and it's really nice. I used to live in an apartment and now I live in a townhouse and it is so much nicer and I really like this setup a whole lot better. I feel like I can see my stuff more, and you'll notice I'm sitting on the floor, but honestly I kind of like it better. I used to sit on the couch, but I don't have a chair in my space currently, so I just decided to plop down on the floor and be more personal with you guys. I prefer sitting on the floor personally, so I think I might keep it this way, but I might get a chair in the future. Who knows? But today, for my video and my new setup, I have The Mother-Daughter Book Club by Heather Vogel Frederick. And let me start by saying this is one of my favorite book series. It is so cute, so wholesome, and it really promotes female friendship. And I feel like that's super important for like girls that are around this age, because most of the girls in this book are between 12 and 13, and I feel like that's kind of a hard age to be a girl. And it's just a really good book, and I love the friendships that it promotes. And I first started reading this book series, I think, in like, it had to have been 2016 or 2017, because I remember I got this book when I used to work at a library when I started college, and I picked it up at the community book sale that my library was holding that week. And I was like, how have I never heard of this? Because this book series, it says it came out in like 2008, and like I was totally alive and present at that time. And how old was I in 2008? I couldn't have been more than like 12 or 13 myself. Let me figure it out real quick because I'm curious. Yeah, I was 12. I was literally 12 when this book series came out. I don't know how I never heard of it or how I never came across it, but nonetheless, I discovered it when I was in my 20s, or I'm still in my 20s, but I discovered it when I was in my early 20s, and I really wish I would have found it when I was younger, because it's a really, really good book series. And like, I'm really glad that I started reading it now, because I mean, I love reading middle grade books. I feel like middle grade books are some of the best books out there. They're very wholesome, and sometimes I'm just not in the mood for like adult problems. I'm more in the mood for like children problems, because being an adult is hard, and reading about kid stuff is like, it's a really nice escape for a while. So yeah, this book series, let me give you a little overview. So we have 4 girls in this book series. We have Emma, we have Jess, we have Cassidy, we have Becca, or not Becca. She's in the book later in the series, but she's not like one of the main characters in the first book. So we have Emma, Jess, Cassidy, and Megan. And then Becca comes in later. So the book series begins with all these girls. They're in 6th grade. That's when it starts. And they're not friends exactly. Like, their mothers kind of start this book club without them knowing. And they kind of do it so that they can all get to know each other, because they're all very different girls. And I don't know if they all had friendships before this. It doesn't really go into detail with that. So I'm assuming maybe this was their mom's way to get the girls to make friends easier. It makes sense. Makes sense. But so they start the book club in the 6th grade, and it's started by Emma's mom, and Emma's mom is a librarian, so it makes sense that she would want to start a book club with her daughter. And the first book that they start reading when this book starts, they read classics, which I thought was also really cool, because I feel like a lot of classics get overlooked sometimes by like younger kids. Like they don't necessarily understand the implications of a classic. So Emma's mom tries to get them to be more well-rounded with their reading. So they start off by reading Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. And I must say, I think I did read this in high school, but I should reread it because I feel like I didn't even appreciate it myself when I read it in high school. Because I read it for my AP English class, so I think I was like a senior in high school when I read it. But so they go through all of that, and this is a really good book series because it goes through all the trials and tribulations of like preteen and teenage stuff, and it's really inspiring to read it because it makes me want to start a book club with my daughter if I am blessed to have a daughter at some point in my life. And I think it's a really good portrayal of like moms and daughters bonding, because I feel like sometimes in the media there's not good portrayals of like parent and children relationships, and this is a really good portrayal of a healthy relationship with your mom or with your dad. But this is mainly focusing on the moms and the daughters, but their dads are present in the book. So this is like all these girls have both of their parents present in the book series, which I also think is really nice to portray. And it promotes a lot of different themes in this book series. Like the first book, I think Heather covers like Emma has a weight issue, which I know is kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people, especially like young girls who are like 11 or 12 or 13. Like weight is a big issue for a lot of people, but I feel like Heather covers it really nicely and like not in a bad way. Like it's said that Emma is a little chubby in the book, but it's not like she doesn't feel like she's poking fun at herself, or she doesn't feel like she's uncomfortable with her body. She knows like how to handle it in a healthy way, and her mom handles it with her in a healthy way, which I thought was good. And it's like Heather also promotes in the book like healthy ways to deal with bullying and like anxiety and stuff like that, and it's not anything toxic whatsoever with any of these themes, which I thought was really nice. So in the first book, we get to meet the girls and we figure out who they are. And in the beginning, Megan, she's kind of like the more popular girl in the group, but her and Emma used to be friends, is what I remember being in this book. They used to be friends when they were younger, so like they're 12, and they used to be friends when they were in elementary school, but then they got to middle school and they stopped being friends. So Heather kind of goes through that with the girls, and they become friends again. And one of the girls I mentioned, her name is Becca. She's kind of the mean girl in the book right now. In the first book, she kind of bullies Emma, and she bullies her for liking to read, and she kind of bullies her a little bit for her weight, but that's not like the main focus of the bullying. I think she mainly bullies Emma because she's shy, and Emma doesn't really come into herself yet in this first book, which is understandable because she's only like 12. And she's kind of the younger girl in the group, because I think the rest of the girls, they have earlier birthdays, so they're like 13 in this book when she's only like 12. And it just goes through how to handle like bullying and friendship, which I think is a really good lesson for girls. And one thing that I really love about middle grade books especially, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I feel like when I read a middle grade book, it kind of helps me like get into the mindset of how my child might feel when I have a child. Like it helps me see, like, because I'm 28, so it's been a long time since I was like a teenager or a little girl. So it kind of helps me get into the mindset of how do girls feel nowadays. Like, it helps me get into that mindset to like put myself in that person's shoes, because as an adult it's kind of hard to remember how you felt as a kid and how hard things were for you. But middle grade, I feel like, helps me as an adult put into perspective the types of problems that young girls go through. And I feel like with this, it helps me prepare for when I have a child, how to go about talking to them about certain things, or like how to be more sensitive towards them. And I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I've always felt like reading about young adult books and children's books kind of helps give me that perspective, since I've been so far removed from childhood for so long. But so that's the first book. There's 6 books in the series total, and the second book is called Much Ado About Anne, and that's when they read Anne of Green Gables. And you'll notice on the books there's like a different girl holding up the stack. So this is Jess and this is Cassidy. So the book 1 kind of deals with Jess's problems mainly, and the books all deal with the same girls. It's just one girl kind of has the main storyline in the book. So in this book, for Jess, it kind of goes through how her problems are and who she is as a person and what she's having trouble with right now. And in this the main plot in this book is Jess's mom. Jess's mom is an actress, and she goes away to New York to perform in this soap opera, and it's really upsetting for Jess because she really misses her mom and it's really hard for her, and she feels like her mom doesn't care about her and doesn't like miss the family and because Jess lives on a farm. So her mom being an actress is kind of weird for Jess. She's like, why would my mom want to be an actress when we have all of this at the farm and we have this really nice lifestyle and this really nice family? And it kind of goes through Jess's thoughts on how she feels about her mom being away in New York for so long. And the book goes through that mostly. And this is a spoiler. In the end of the book, Jess's mom does come back and she stops being an actress because she realizes that it's damaging her family. And I think that's a nice lesson for this first book, is that family is important and family is something that you'll always have. And Jess's mom realizes that, because there's also lessons for the adults in the book as well as for the children, which is something that I also think is very interesting. And that's kind of what the first book goes through. And then for the second book, this is Cassidy. She's the sporty girl of the group. So they all have different personalities. Like Emma is shy and she likes books, she likes reading, she likes baking, she has a lot of different hobbies, and she really hangs out with her mom a lot. And I feel like there's also like reading guide questions in the backs of these books, and that's also something I think is really cute, that Heather wrote up questions for, like, if you actually do have a mother-daughter book club, you can read these books and discuss it with your children. And one of the questions was, who do you relate to the most in the books? And I feel like even though I am a 28-year-old woman, I really do see myself in Emma. Emma reminds me of who I was when I was a 12-year-old girl, because I also liked reading. I was also really quiet. I also really liked poetry. I still like poetry, and I still like reading. And I'm still relatively quiet for the most part, but I feel like that's also another reason why I like these books, because I can see myself. I can see my younger self in these books, which is something that I think is so important. Because another thing that really grabbed my attention with these books is how you can relate to them no matter how old you are in life. Because I feel like someone can always relate to like losing their mom or not having their mom around, or someone can always relate to being picked on or bullied, even if you're not in school anymore. And I think that's another thing that's really cool about this book series, is it seems very relatable, even though it's an older book series. I mean, it came out in 2008. That was kind of a long time ago, which is really weird to say, but nonetheless, I'm only 28, I know, but it made me feel old saying that, so whatever. But so the second book is mainly about Cassidy, and Cassidy, her dilemma in this book series is that she moved here. The girls live in Connecticut, I think, or Maine. They live in one of those states. I can't remember. It's so sad. I feel like I've just read one of these books and I can't remember where they live. But they live in this different state. And Cassidy, she used to live in California. So she moves here from California with her mother and her sister. And her dilemma is that her dad passed away. And she's really upset about that. And she's upset that they had to move. And because I feel like that's a big deal for a girl to go through. That's a big deal for anyone to go through. To like uproot your life and to go somewhere else and meet all these new people, and like you have no idea what's going on and you're just trying to fit in, and it's really a formative time in your life to go through all these changes. So that's her main issue, is she's trying to deal with her dad's death and moving. And then in this book, her mom starts dating, and she's like has this big crisis over it because she can't possibly imagine her mom moving on from her dad, which is completely understandable for someone her age, because it's like you see your parents every day, obviously, if you have them with you, and you just always think of them as like a pair, like a mom and a dad, and they're together and they're married, and you just think of them as like this unit. And when you don't have that one part of the unit anymore, it's kind of devastating. And Cassidy, her big character development is going through and accepting that her mom is dating someone, and he's actually a really nice guy. His name is Stanley, and he's someone who can relate to Cassidy because he also likes sports, because Cassidy's favorite sport is hockey, and so she loves to play hockey, and she joins this girls' team in the book. And her way of coping with everything is to do sports, which is a good coping mechanism to have. And throughout the book, we kind of learn how she deals with Stanley and how she learns to grow closer with him and accept him as her stepfather, because she has to reckon with the feeling of, he's not my dad, but he's trying to be a father figure. And that's a really important lesson. The books always revolve around family, I've noticed. Which is something that's really cool, because I feel like family values are really important to learn about and to read about, especially. And they are also very relatable, because everyone goes through family issues at some point or another. And I feel like the big theme in this book is that accepting that even though someone is not, it's not your dad or it's not your mom, they're trying their hardest to be relatable to you. And I feel like that was a good lesson in this book. And she comes to the reality that Stanley is going to be her stepfather because her mom ends up marrying him. And it's really cute to see her go through that character development and to go through like, yeah, he's not my dad, but he's trying. So they end up having a really good relationship at the end of the book, which I thought was cute. And I don't know, I love this book series. It's definitely my favorite, but that's the second book. And the third book, I don't own it, but it's shown on the back. It's called Dear Pen Pal. And I think I read that they read like a classic called Daddy Longlegs. I've never heard of that classic personally, but they apparently read that. And I'm not for certain what goes on in the third book exactly. I think they all gain pen pals in that book, from what I remember. But I have not found the third book yet, so I have not read the third book. But I skipped ahead and I read Pride and Prejudice. And this book Oh my gosh, I just read it recently. I read it like last week or the week before that, and it's definitely, I can say without a doubt, this is my favorite book in the series so far. Like, this is so cute, and it was really good, and it actually made me cry, and I was totally not expecting to cry from the Mother-Daughter Book Club, because like, yeah, it's wholesome and it's cute, but I wasn't expecting to get like emotional over it. But this book was definitely emotional, and this the one other thing that I really like about this series is that we follow the girls as they grow up. So in the first book, they're in 6th grade, and then in the second book, I think it jumps ahead like 2 years maybe, and they're in 8th grade. And then in this book, they're in high school. So I thought that was really cool that we can follow these girls as they grow up. And now they're like 15 or 16. I think Emma is 15. So this is Emma. She's the main girl in this book. And this book was really good and very interesting because her mom and her dad and her brother, they all moved to England. And I thought that was really cool. I've been reading a lot of British books recently, so having this take place a little bit in England, it was like perfect because I'm like, wow, I've already read so many English books. Might as well keep the trend going. But their family moves to England for a year, and it's only a year because they have like money set aside from, I think her dad is an author, and her dad recently got published, and he had money set aside from his publication to move to England as like a treat for their family, which is like a huge treat in my opinion. So that's really cool that they could do that. And so Emma's kind of upset that she's missing her first year of high school, and it's kind of like this goes into more like Emma has a boyfriend, and her brother and her best friend Jess is Jess likes her brother. Her brother's name is Darcy, and they kind of go through, this book deals more with like boy problems in a girl's life, which it might be why I liked it more. I do like reading romance, so it's kind of cute to read like a little light young adult romance. But yeah, so it basically follows Emma and how she deals with living in England for a year, and how everyone goes on without her for a little while. But they don't stop the Mother-Daughter Book Club in this book. They actually start doing video chats together. So I thought that was very cool and innovative of them all to do, so that Emma doesn't miss out on anything. And they start reading, I feel like it's kind of a giveaway. They start reading Pride and Prejudice, since this book is called Pies and Prejudice, which I thought was a cute play on words. I've noticed that the books kind of give like a little giveaway as to what the title of the book is that they're reading. So like Pies and Prejudice kind of rhymes with Pride and Prejudice, and it's kind of a theme in the book because they start a pie company in this book as like a little like bake sale type of thing to give Emma a present for like a spring break present, I think what it was. And because Emma gets homesick in the book, obviously, and the girls all band together to get her a ticket to come home, which is really sweet. And so they start like baking pies, and they call it Pies and Prejudice. And I think it was interesting, especially because like all the classics that they read are kind of age appropriate. So when they first start the book club, they read Little Women, which is about younger girls and younger sisters for that matter. And then in the second book, they read Anne of Green Gables, which is a little bit more mature, but it's still like a kid's book, more or less. I'm not sure about Daddy Longlegs though, because I've never heard of that personally, and I've never read that, but I'm assuming it was age appropriate for them because they were like 14 or 15, I think. So obviously it would have to be age appropriate. But I thought it was interesting they chose Pride and Prejudice for being in high school, because I also read Pride and Prejudice in high school. But I don't know, I wasn't as enamored with it as I thought I would be, and I'm trying to reread it now as an adult, but I think it's just one of those books where you either love it or you don't love it. And I think I'm one of those people that doesn't love it, which is unfortunate. But I am going to give it another college try, because I'm trying to listen to the audiobook of it. But maybe that's not the kind of audiobook to listen to at work. But nonetheless. So they read Pride and Prejudice in this book, and they go through that, and this is more about like dating problems and boy troubles, and Emma, her boyfriend's name is Stuart, and she and Stuart, they've been dating for like a year or 2 years at this point. I think it's a year. I think they started dating when she was 14, which is kind of young, but whatever. I digress. But, so yeah, they go through that, and in the end of the book, Emma comes home and stuff, and everything works out in the end, and she's kind of thinking about, like, how is her life gonna be in, like, a couple years from now, because she's 15, and she's getting close to going to college, and she's wondering about the future. But it kind of ends on this note where it's like, she kind of tells herself just to live in the moment, which I thought was kind of cool. Because it's like, reading these books, you're watching these girls grow up, and like watching them and their thought processes change and how their feelings change towards one another. It's kind of nice how Heather puts that lesson in this book. Like, no matter how old you are or like what stage you are in your life, just enjoy the moment. Like, enjoy being in this moment where you are right now. Like, Emma's only 15. Like, she should enjoy being a child. She should enjoy being a teenager. She should enjoy doing the things that normal teenage girls do. And I really liked that lesson, because I feel like that's super important to learn at this age, to enjoy being where you are. So that was the 4th book, and I have not read the 5th book yet. The 5th book is a holiday book, I think. If you can see that, it's like super tiny. It's called Home for the Holidays, and it looks like that book is about Becca, because Becca is described as being a blonde-haired girl with blue eyes, and that's what looks like is on that cover. So I have not found that book yet, but I do have, let me count, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do have the 6th book. The 6th book is called Wish You Were Air by, and they read Jane Eyre, I think, is what they read in this book, which is very fitting because it says Wish You Were Air. So it's kind of like a play on words, but I'm pretty sure this book is about Megan, because Megan is a little Asian girl in this book. So I'm not sure what this book is about, but I am excited to read it at some point. And I will probably read it soon. But yeah, so that's my series overview about the Mother-Daughter Book Club. So far I have 4 out of the 7 books. And I think my one thing with this series is you don't have to read them in order. I mean, it's nice to read them in order, but I noticed that when I jumped from the 3rd book to the 4th book, I skipped the 3rd book and I wasn't really lost, which I thought was cool. So for future reference, if you want to read this book series, you don't necessarily have to read them in order, because you can totally pick up like what happened and everything from each book. Because like, I didn't read Dear Pen Pal, but I read Pride and Prejudice, and I kind of understood what happened in the 3rd book without actually having to read it. So I'm assuming it will be the same thing for Wish You Were Air. I'm assuming I'll be able to pick up what happened without missing too much. But I'm hoping to find the other books in the series, because I would love to own the book series, because I like owning book series that I really enjoy. And yeah, so this was kind of a longer video, so I hope that you enjoyed it, and thank you for sticking around until the end, if you so wish, and thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed this, and I enjoyed making it, and please like and subscribe, and if you want to, leave me a comment down below. Have you heard of this book series? Did you read it when you were a kid? Did you read it now? Did you like it? What are your thoughts on it? And I just appreciate all of my subscribers, and I appreciate all the people that continue to watch me, And I just thank you so much for your support. It really means the world to me. But I'll see you in the next video, guys. Goodbye!